I found out my wife was cheating, and she thinks I can't divorce her because I'm too attached to her. But she doesn't know I started it last week. She cheated 2 weeks ago and showed remorse, but she doesn't seem willing to continue the relationship. This is the first time I've ever posted something like that. Edit, I'm 36, she's 32, and we've been married for 4.5 years. We've been together for over 7 years. We don't have any kids. My wife and I have been distant for a while, and the only time we have sex is when I initiate it, once a month. We had a happy marriage and never fought, but apparently I had no idea about a lot of issues. I thought we were just in a sexual rut, but it was much deeper than I thought. After my therapist and a friend suggested she may be cheating, I decided to check her phone while she was in the shower and found texts from another man. She immediately admitted to it and confessed everything. This was last Tuesday. The affair happened on Saturday. She had been talking to him romantically since November of last year, but they'd known each other from work for longer. He lives out of state and comes into town every few months. I feel a bit silly for wanting to see if we can work past. She shows remorse, but I'm still not sure I want to hear that she can forgive me and that we can work this out. That's what I want to hear. This is the love of my life. We've been together for over 7 years, married for 4, and together for 2. She was my person. This is so out of character. It's unbelievable. She was cheated on in previous relationships and always told me that if I ever cheated, it would be the end. I'm not going to explain or justify myself. I'm not going to talk to you about it. You'll wake up, and I'll be gone. You'll never see me again. I made sure to never give her any inkling that I ever sought anything outside of her. I gave up all my female friends. I told them any time an ex reached out or said anything to me. I never wanted her to even think I did it. It was out of respect for her 3 best friends and her individual therapist, she's been seeing for years, were completely shocked when she told them a month ago. I would never have thought she could do it. It was so out of character for her. I would have thought she'd become a bank robber before I thought she'd cheat. I've told a couple of close friends and my sister. She's told her 3 closest friends and her therapist. That's it, as far as I know. We went to our first marriage counseling session on January 22nd. She slept with him for the first time on January 27th. That was less than a week after our first marriage. She saw her personal therapist yesterday for the 2nd time since the affair. She also went to a solo counseling session with our marriage counselor last night. I'm going solo tonight. When I got home, she was very distant. I asked her last night if she still knew if she wanted to be with me. She said she didn't know. She said she'd rather hear "I don't know" than a definitive no, but she didn't say there was currently no interest. She said she didn't want to have this conversation right now. I left it at that and said okay. I walked away, cried, and drank for hours until I passed out. I'm going to solo counseling with the same marriage counselor tonight. We have a group session booked on the 11th. It's looking more and more like our relationship won't survive this. She has 0 drive to work on it. I'm devastated. I never even thought this would happen. I knew we had grown a little distant, but not this. I'm so nervous for this session tonight. I feel like I'm going to tell the therapist I want to work it out. I can forgive her eventually, but I think she'll just nod and smile. And then at the group session, she'll tell me she wants out. I want this relationship to survive. I'm scared. She says she has no desire to continue seeing this guy. And when I asked if she was using him, she said yes. She said she wanted to have control over something. And she says she has not talked to him at all since and will not talk to him ever again. She is not seeking a relationship with him. She's not looking to get back together with me, but she's also not trying to fix our relationship. She says she doesn't think I could ever forgive her, and that she doesn't think she could ever forgive herself. Edit. I sent a text from her phone the night I found it to him. It said, "This is her husband. I've read the text. He sent some responses that came through the next day, but she says she has not replied to him once and has no plans to ever do so. I had a session with the marriage counselor yesterday. It was just me and her. I told her that I feel like she's given up. She's not showing any signs of wanting to work through it. I told her that I know she can't tell me what they talked about directly, but that I know he's done with the relationship. She asked what I wanted. I told her I wanted an apology. She wants to see if we can work through this, but I do not foresee this happening. Lots of other things were said, but she did tell me. She told me to take some time to think about whether I was happy in the past few years. I said I'd ask what a divorce would look like. I feel like she was preparing me for the separation. I'll write more about this in a new post. She's been staying with her parents since last Wednesday. We did a joint counseling session on Sunday. Counselor asked what we were doing. I said we were reconciling. My wife said we were separating. The counselor asked if I'd considered trying separation or even separating to divorce. I said I thought she was going to say that, so I wasn't surprised. We had a long talk about why with the counselor. She's going through terrible guilt over what she did but still doesn't want to work anything out with us. She's not talking to the other guy anymore either. She just wants out. When we talked more, it was a lot of built-up little resentments that she never, and I'm not exaggerating, never got out of her system. She also mentioned that she did all the cleaning and offered to get a maid service at least 3 times. But I told her not to do it. She said she has to be the mental lead on things when planning, which is fair enough because she is the one who plans the trips and events. I'm not planning the dream vacation she's always wanted to do in Europe. In fact, apart from one trip, we've done every other trip to places she wants to go. The one trip we did that she didn't plan was my sister's. The counselor then said, "Well, what about the wedding?" She didn't want to have the wedding, she just wanted to elope. You made her have a wedding, and she did most of the planning, and you weren't very present in planning. Okay, I see your point. I wanted the wedding, and so did her parents and my parents. She said she never felt like she could talk to me about these things. I asked why. She said she didn't know. I asked if I ever did anything to make her think that. Did I ever yell at her? I was angry and frustrated and yelled and cursed at her. She said that she had seen me get mad and frustrated and yell and curse, but that none of it was ever directed towards her. I asked her if she thought that I could have made it clearer that she could talk to me about these things. The counselor said that I should have told her, because it never happened. When I confronted her about the affair, I didn't scream at her, curse her, or hit the drywall. I did, however, speak loudly and firmly, asking her how she could do such a thing. In Betrayal, it was probably one of the more calm confrontations you could imagine. Then I looked at the counselor and said, "That's her proof that she could talk to me." I told her I feel like she never even tried. Every serious conversation we had, I had to bring up and initiate. She never did this. I told her I would rather have had 10 difficult conversations than the one we're having now. Instead, she held everything inside. When she finally let it out and told me she was having some feelings, we scheduled counseling 3 days later. She was seeing someone else less than a week after that. I told her that if she doesn't want to be together due to the guilt she has for what she did, and that she doesn't think I'll ever be able to forgive her. That's one thing. That's something we can work on. Then I said that if she wants to separate, because she no longer loves me and doesn't see a future with me, that's another thing. If she wants a divorce because she genuinely doesn't want to be with me, that's one thing. She said she doesn't want to be with me. I asked her, "Okay, I've got divorce papers ready for you to sign tomorrow. Would you sign them?" I was actually going to pick up the papers the next morning and get her to sign them. The next morning, I picked up the divorce papers and got her to sign. At the counseling session, she said she didn't know what to expect. I asked if she wanted a divorce. I told her there was no difference in signing tomorrow, 2 weeks, or 2 months. She just said she didn't. When the session ended, we went back to our home to continue talking and get her some clothes to take to her parents. I asked her what she wanted. She said she wanted to be alone. I said, okay, alone and divorced, or alone for a while and do a trial separation and file for divorce later if we can't reconcile after we take some time apart. She said she doesn't know. I told her that I found that difficult to accept, and that it was wrong of her to ruin everything by never talking to me, holding resentments she never told me about, and having an affair. Now she's the one with all the power. She said she doesn't have any power and doesn't want the power. I told her I know she doesn't want it, but she has it. I just have to go along with whatever she wants. I'll have the divorce papers ready tomorrow, if she'll sign them. She says I can't get them made that quickly. I said yes, I can because I started last week. She said she has to read it first. I told her, of course, but it will be what we talked about when I first caught her cheating and said I would divorce her. I keep mine, she keeps hers, both accounts and debts. I presented her with the papers. She read through them, then said she needs to get them looked at. This is exactly what we agreed to. So, I asked why she needs them looked at. I told her she just signs. Now we're done with all the back and forth. We don't have to go back and forth, but she doesn't have to pay a lawyer. She admitted to having a lawyer, but she wants to look it over. She says her lawyer isn't on retainer. I'm still waiting on her lawyer to look it all over. Deep down, I know that us separating is for the best. There's been infidelity, wavering on her wanting kids, and a lack of communication. She's also been very immature and she's been very uncommunicative. She's been completely unfaithful, and she's treated me like I'm not even a person. But if she came back today and said she's sorry and wants to fix it, I'd probably say okay.